All right, gather round, children, gather round. I got something to tell you all. Gertrude here has been asking about what the BGP is. And I suppose it's time you all learned the story of the big gentle psychic, or, as we like to call him, the BGP. Now, I was just a lad no bigger than any of you when the BGP was first discovered. Amos Grundy used to own the old post office building with the one who found him. Amos had been on one of his rambles up Gladman's Hill when the ground just gave way beneath him. You can still see the hole he fell through now. Amos fell 12 feet down into a limestone grotto, cracked 2 of his ribs on the way down and twisted his ankle something fierce. He never would have been able to get out that place if it weren't for the BGP. Way Amos told it, he was lying there in the dark, bits of rubble still falling on his head, when he saw something move in the shadows. It were bigger than a man, and at first Amos thought he were about to get eaten by a bear, till it came into the light. It weren't just bigger than a man, it was a man, a giant, 9 feet tall in his slippers he was, and he were wrapped in the most beautiful robes anyone in the village had ever seen. They were all the colours of the night sky, with blues deeper than midnight, purples more rich than a foxglove, and all laced with fine strands of gold that sparkled like stars. And now I know that's true, 'cause I saw him myself after he'd come to live in the village. But more about that later. When Amos saw it weren't a bear but a giant man, well, he actually got even more scared. To fall down a hole is unlucky. To meet a giant while you're down there is a sure sign that this is not going to be your day. Thing was, the giant started talking to him. Not with words, though. The giant man never even moved his mouth. But Amos swore down it was in his head, talking to him through his mind. The giant was worried about him. He knew Amos was scared, and he wanted him to calm down. So, it showed him all these things, visions of the most relaxing things you ever seen, like people cutting bars of soap with knives, and the way the machine sharpens a new pencil before it leaves the factory. One time, Amos told me he even saw a pair of hands wearing rubber gloves, popping loads of pimples. Said it were his favourite one. Now, whatever it was that giant was doing, it worked. Amos completely forgot he was stuck in a hole with a busted ankle and 2 jiggered ribs. And before he knew it, the giant had scooped him up off the floor, slung him over his shoulder, and climbed up out the hole he fell through. And that's how the rest of the village met the giant. When he carried Amos back home and lay him down in front of the fountain, he were so careful when he laid Amos to the ground. He didn't have any name he could tell us, so we just called him what he was, the big, gentle psychic. And he lived here in the village with us for a few good years. But that's another story. I can hear your mother calling you for supper, so run along now, all of you.